My son grabbed me by the hair and dragged me out to the yard, under the sun, like I was trash, just because he suspected I'd stolen money from him. The next morning, a man I'd never seen before came looking for me. I'm glad you're here. Stay until the end, and tell me which city you're watching my story from. I want to know how far it's reached. That day, I was hunched over in the kitchen, crouched by the old charcoal stove, trying to start a fire to cook a thin pot of porridge. For Reuben, there was nothing left in the house to eat, just a handful of white rice and a pinch of salt that stung the tongue. I carefully dropped the rice into the pot, stirring it gently, thinking to myself that if he came home early today, it'd be good. He must be starving. Suddenly, from outside, the door burst open with a bang, loud enough to shake the whole frame. Reuben came in, face flushed red, the stench of alcohol rolling off him. He must have been drinking with his buddies at the bar again. He headed straight to the wooden drawer, yanked it open, tore through everything, tossing a pile of clothes onto the dirty floor. Then he pulled out his old jacket, dug into the pocket, kept digging, found nothing. He snapped his head toward me, eyes blazing. "Where's my money, old woman? I left it in this pocket. Now it's gone. You took it, didn't you?" he shouted, voice hoarse from liquor, stomping toward me. I flinched, still holding the wooden spoon, too startled to say anything at first. I stammered, "Son, I don't know anything. I was just making porridge for you. Why would I take your money?" But he wasn't listening. He grabbed my wrist and yanked me out of the kitchen. The pot hadn't even touched the stove yet. It hit the ground with a heavy thud, cracked open, and spilled watery porridge across the moldy floor. I struggled to get free, cried out, "Reuben, let me go. You're hurting my arm. What are you doing?" But he didn't care. He grabbed a fistful of my hair and dragged me through the narrow living room. My ankles slammed into the corner of the wooden table. It felt like a needle jabbing straight in. I reached for a nearby chair, pleaded, "Please, son, stop. I didn't take your money. I swear to God, I didn't. Just listen to me." He kept dragging me, muttering through clenched teeth, "Shut up, old hag. I know you took it. Don't even try to lie." My foot caught on a pair of old plastic slippers lying on the floor. I slipped. My knees slammed down on the cold, hard ground, but he kept pulling, showing no mercy. Out in the backyard, the sunlight hit my face, full on, blinding, searing. I tried to pry his hand from my hair, begged him, "Son, let go. It's too hot. I can't breathe. Let me explain. Maybe the money just fell somewhere." But he flung my hand away and shoved me hard. I landed flat on my back. Reuben yelled, voice echoing across the yard, "You call yourself a mother and steal from your own kid. I worked my ass off for those pesos and you go pick in my pockets. What's lower than that? I'm ashamed to have a mother like you." I tried to speak, tried to sit up. "Son, I'm not a thief. I raised you. How could I?" But he shoved me down again, flat on the scorching cement, the heat burning into my back. I lay there, eyes blinded by the sun, shoulders scraped and bleeding hands bruised from his grip. He stood over me for a second, breathing hard, then turned and slammed the door behind him, leaving me out in the yard. I crawled slowly toward the shade beside the old water tank, where a few chickens had been pecking at the dirt. They stopped and stared at me for a moment, then scattered in all directions, like they were afraid. While I sat there gasping for air, I heard the slap of sandals walking past the alley. Then they stopped. Someone knocked on the front gate, their voice ringing out, "Hey, anyone home? Dona Inez, you there?" I didn't have the strength to answer loud. My mouth was dry. I barely whispered, "I'm here." But they knocked twice more, waited a little, then left. I heard their footsteps fade away. A passing three-wheeled cart rumbled down the street, kicking up dust that drifted into the yard and settled thick on my legs. I closed my eyes and lay still. The day before that awful morning, I woke up while it was still pitch dark, no sound of roosters yet. The front door was still locked from the outside, key held tight by Reuben. I got up quietly, took an old sack from the kitchen corner, gathered the leftover eggshells from yesterday, and crushed them to sprinkle over the little garden behind the house. The garden didn't have much, just a few stunted chili plants and a patch of weeds. But I kept tending to it, hoping something green might grow. From across the alley, the bread seller's voice rang out, an old woman's rough, familiar call. Fresh bread, sweet rolls, savory rolls. I stepped into the yard, stood under the lemon tree, listening to her call, craving a bite of warm, crusty bread, but I didn't dare go near the gate. Reuben had forbidden it. he said, if I catch you talking to strangers outside, don't blame me for what happens. So I turned back, took a rag, and started wiping down the old wooden table under the lemon tree, the spot where my husband used to sit and read the paper every morning. One leg of the chair was broken, shaky, so I propped it up with some crumbling red bricks. Back in the kitchen, I lit a fire to boil water and washed the last of the vegetables. On the stove sat an old aluminum pot, dented at the bottom, both handles long gone. I had to hold it bare. Around 9 a.m., Reuben woke up. The sound of his door latch echoed loud, like someone twisting a metal chain. He came into the kitchen, t-shirt wrinkled, eyes still raw from sleep. He looked around without saying a word. Got anything to eat? Old woman, he barked, voice rough, not even glancing my way. I kept my tone soft, careful. There's some white rice porridge, son. Want me to add fried shallots? Smells good. He didn't answer, just pulled a cigarette from his faded jeans. Lit it, took a long drag. Smoke filled the air. Then he dropped himself onto the wooden table, shoes caked with mud, smearing dirt all over the surface I'd just cleaned. I quietly brought out the bowl of porridge, set it in front of him. He glanced at it, scowled, then shoved it hard off the table, the ceramic bowl shattered, porridge spilling across the filthy floor. I ain't a damn beggar. You think I'm gonna eat this crap? What the hell do you think I am? I'd rather starve, he roared, slamming his fist on the table. I flinched, bent down to pick up the shards, my hands trembling. Son, there's no food left in the house. All I had was a bit of rice, I whispered. Shut up. All you ever do is whine about being broke, he snapped. Then he pulled a 200 peso bill from his wallet and flung it to the floor like trash. Go to the corner store and get something real to eat. Don't take forever. I'm not waiting, he barked. I quietly picked up the money, grabbed an old plastic bag, and walked to the door. I turned back and asked softly, can you unlock the gate for me, son? I don't have the key. He stood up slowly, yanked the metal bolt, eyes glaring. Don't take your sweet time. Be back on time. And if anyone asks you anything, keep your damn mouth shut. I better not hear a word of nonsense, he growled, jabbing a finger in my face. I walked to the store, the heat scorching my skin. On the way, I passed Dona Claudine, our old neighbor, sitting on her porch weaving a bamboo basket. She waved, cheerful. Inez, haven't seen you in forever. Where you off to in such a hurry? I lowered my head and muttered, just getting some groceries, ma'am, then hurried past without stopping. At the store, I waited behind 3 people, bought a small bottle of cooking oil and a few eggs. While waiting for my change, a young man beside me stared, eyes full of curiosity. I quickly pulled my scarf up over my face, grabbed the coins, and left, in a rush, walking fast. When I got back home, the gate was already locked. I stood outside and called out, Reuben, son, open the gate for me. It wasn't until the 3rd call that he finally came out, dragging his feet, face full of irritation. What took you so long? I told you not to be slow, he barked. I walked quietly into the kitchen, handed him the grocery bag, and placed the change on the table. He didn't bother counting it, just grabbed everything, shoved it into his pocket, and went straight to his room, slamming the door behind him. That afternoon, I sat on the porch under the shade of the lemon tree, eating cold rice with salt. Our hungry dog lay beside me, panting, staring at my food with pleading eyes. I gave it half my portion. It licked the bowl clean, then rested its chin on my leg, and wouldn't leave. As evening came, I took the laundry out to dry in the yard, shirts patched and repatched, each one hanging heavy. A breeze stirred the air, and a lemon fell from the tree, rolling to my feet. I picked it up, held it for a moment, then set it back on the ground, not knowing what else to do. The morning after Reuben dragged me into the yard, I sat hunched beneath the back porch, a torn scarf wrapped around my head to cover the spots where he'd ripped out clumps of my hair. My eyes were still swollen shut. My upper arm was black and blue, aching with every movement. I took a small knife and cut a few aloe vera leaves from the garden corner, spread the cool gel on the bruises. It sank into my skin, but the pain didn't fade. From the iron gate came a voice, deep, steady, a man's. Dona Inez, are you there? Miss Inez. I shifted forward, trying to see through the wooden slats, squinting against the harsh sunlight. A tall man stood there, sun-darkened skin, sleeves rolled up, holding an old straw hat in his hands. His fingers were trembling, like he was nervous. I didn't recognize him at first, Something about him felt unfamiliar. He called again, more clearly this time. It's Elijah, Elijah Contreras. When I was a kid, you let me sleep at your place for 3 nights, next to the rice pot. Do you remember that? I hesitated, then slowly stood up and stepped into the yard, stopping about 6 feet from the gate. The sunlight hit the concrete at an angle, forcing me to squint hard to see him. You look different. Who are you looking for? I asked, voice hoarse, one hand gripping the edge of my scarf. I'm looking for you, Dona Inez. I'm Elijah, the boy you helped at the market 20 years ago, he said, no hesitation in his voice, his eyes lighting up like the memory had just come back to him. I froze, clutching the hem of my blouse, searching my memory. And then it came clear, like a flash of light. I met Elijah at the market during a heavy rain. He was huddled in a corner, shivering from cold and hunger. I gave him a corn cake and a bottle of water, then brought him home. I let him sleep on the old mattress upstairs, near the stack of firewood. I washed his clothes, cleaned the cuts on his arms, even taught him how to write his name, Elijah, on a torn scrap of paper. A few weeks later, a social services worker came and took him away. There wasn't even time for goodbye. I stood there, hands clenching my shirt, unsure what to say. Just then, Reuben came out of the house, into the yard. He stopped in his tracks when he saw me speaking to a stranger. His eyes narrowed, voice sharp. Who's that, old woman? You sneaking around behind my back again? I didn't have time to answer. I stammered, Reuben, this is... But Elijah spoke first, calm and steady. I'm Elijah Contreras. Your mother helped me 20 years ago. I just came to say thank you. That's all. I mean no harm. Reuben went quiet for a few seconds, eyes darting between me and Elijah, weighing something. Then he muttered flatly, we don't want visitors. Get out, and don't let me see your face again. He slammed the door shut, the sound of wood cracking against the frame cutting through the air. I stayed frozen in the yard, my feet rooted to the ground. Elijah didn't leave right away. He quietly placed a small cloth bag on the ledge beside the gate and said, there's a loaf of bread in here, and a jar of ointment for bruises. I was going to take it home, but looks like you need it more. I'll come back. Take care of yourself, Dona Inez. He turned and walked away without waiting for my reply, his steps quick but steady. I quietly stepped forward, picked up the cloth bag, brought it inside, and placed it on the wooden table. Inside was a still warm loaf of bread, a tiny jar of camphor oil, and an old, yellowed photo. Me and young Elijah, sitting under a mango tree. I was stroking his head, and we were both smiling. That night, I took the photo and placed it under my pillow. I didn't sleep at all. I just lay there staring at the dark ceiling, yet somehow, I felt a quiet sense of peace, like a small light had slipped in. The next morning, Reuben woke up earlier than usual, just as the sun was rising, and pale yellow light crept through the window slats. I was rinsing rice in the dented aluminum pot, getting ready to cook breakfast. He stepped out of his room, wrinkled t-shirt, hair a mess, saying nothing. He leaned against the kitchen doorway, staring at me hard. I could feel his eyes, heavy and searching, like he was trying to catch me in something. Why are you looking at me like that, Reuben? What's wrong? I asked quietly, still washing the rice as cloudy water slipped through my fingers. He let out a snort, voice flat. What were you sneaking around for? I saw that guy at the gate yesterday. You think I'm blind? I froze, my hands stopping mid-motion, trying to keep my voice calm. Son, I didn't do anything. No one came by. I was in the kitchen all morning. He stepped closer, pointed a finger at my face. Don't lie to me, Dot. I know you're hiding something. If I find out you've been messing around with anyone, don't expect me to go easy on you. I lowered my head and mumbled, I'm not hiding anything, son. I swear to the Virgin of Guadalupe, I've just been here taking care of the house. He glared at me a while longer, then turned to leave, but tossed a final warning over his shoulder. You better tell the truth. I don't like being played. I exhaled slowly and went back to rinsing the rice, though my hands were shaking. Quietly, I prepared breakfast, fried a few eggs with the last bit of cooking oil, and set them on the table with the bread Elijah had brought, which I'd hidden in the rice basket the day before. I warmed it on the skillet so it'd smell fresh. Again, the scent filled the kitchen. Reuben sat down, glanced at the bread, and immediately frowned. Where'd this bread come from? I didn't see this when you went shopping the other day. Where'd you get it? He asked, suspicious, tearing off a piece and sniffing it like he was testing something. I swallowed hard. trying to sound natural. A neighbor gave it to me. Son, the old woman at the end of the alley, she said they had extra and brought it over. He narrowed his eyes, clearly not buying it, the bread crackling in his hands. What neighbor is that generous? Say her name. He slapped the table lightly with his hand. I stumbled for a second, thinking fast. Mrs. Helen's son. She sells vegetables at the market. You've seen her. He curled his lip, voice dripping with sarcasm. Helen? I don't know any damn Helen. You're a good liar, old woman. But let me tell you, if I catch you sneaking around again, you'll regret it. I lowered my head. I wouldn't dare, son. I just want to make sure you have enough to eat. He didn't say anything else, just devoured the bread and eggs, then got up and left me with the dishes. After the meal, he dragged me out back, near the old water tank where the chickens sometimes pecked at the dirt. Before I could ask what was happening, he shoved me against the wall, not hard enough to hurt, but enough to throw me off balance. He leaned in close, breath heavy with cigarettes, voice low and sharp like a blade. This is the last time I'm saying it, old woman. I don't want to see a single stranger near this house. If you let anyone in again, I won't be so nice. You hear me? I nodded quickly, voice trembling. I understand, son. I won't let anyone come near, I promise. He stared at me, eyes full of suspicion. You've made that promise before. I don't believe you. If I catch you again, don't expect peace. I nodded again, gripping the wall for balance. I know, son. I'll do what you say. He walked back into the house, leaving me there, legs weak beneath me. That afternoon, I was in the kitchen washing a pile of dirty dishes, water dripping steadily from the leaky faucet. Suddenly, there was a knock at the iron gate. Just one, dry and soft. I flinched, wiped my hands on my apron, and peeked through the window slats. It was Elijah again, standing outside the gate, holding his straw hat. But this time he didn't call out. He knocked once, then turned and walked away quickly, like he was afraid someone might see him. Reuben came out of his room, having heard the knock, and rushed into the yard. He picked up a small piece of paper that the wind had blown near the gate, unfolded it, then crumpled it, and threw it straight into the fire burning under the stove. What the hell is this? Sneaking around again? You know that guy, don't you? He shouted, turning to me, pointing toward the gate. I shook my head, voice trembling. I don't know anything, son. I've been in the kitchen all afternoon. How would I know who knocked? He came closer and grabbed my wrist, squeezing hard. Don't pretend. I saw that guy yesterday, and now he's back. You talked to him, didn't you? I tried to pull away, begging. Please, son. I didn't speak to anyone. I stayed in the house. I didn't go outside. He let go with a grunt. It better be true. If I find out you're involved in anything, you'll be sorry. I'd seen the paper, wrapped around a small pouch. Inside were 4 anti-inflammatory pills. Elijah must have left them for me. But I didn't dare say a word. I just lowered my head and went back to washing the dishes, hands shaking so badly I dropped a spoon onto the floor. That night, Reuben went to the corner store for liquor, like he did every evening. He came back drunk, eyes bloodshot, stumbling, a bottle clutched in his hand. He started dragging the wooden chair across the room and slammed it into the wall. The sound of wood cracking echoed sharp and loud, setting the dog off barking in the yard. You think I don't see what's going on? You and that guy sneaking around behind my back, right? I see everything, he yelled, pointing at me, nearly dropping the bottle. I sat still on the edge of the bed, swallowing hard, not daring to lift my head. Please, son, I didn't do anything. I've been here all day. I swear to God, I said quietly, almost pleading. He stormed up to my room, opened the door, and stood blocking the entrance. His shadow stretched across the cold floor. Starting tomorrow, you don't leave this house. You don't talk to anyone. You don't open that gate for any damn stranger. If I find out you did while I'm gone, don't blame me for what happens. Do you hear me? He said, voice ice cold, hand slamming into the doorframe. I nodded, not daring to argue. I understand, son. I'll stay home. I won't go outside. He squinted at me. You say that, but I don't believe you. If you break your word, I'll show you what pain really is. I nodded again, voice shaking. I promise, son, I'll do what you say. He turned away and slammed his door shut behind him, the sound echoing through the whole house. I sat there, fingers gripping the edge of the bed, listening to the sound of Reuben snoring through the wall. When I was sure he was sound asleep, I quietly opened the creaky wooden cabinet. From the bottom of the chest, I pulled out the old sweater that had belonged to Elijah, the one I washed and tucked away the day they took him. I smoothed it out, folded it gently, and placed it under my pillow. Then I lay down, one hand resting on the sweater, not sleeping, just lying there, still, in the dark. The next morning, Reuben left the house at 6, when the sky was still dim and misty, pale light seeping through the cracks in the door. I heard him moving around in the yard, his shoes hitting the cement, then the sharp click of the front lock. I peeked through the kitchen door. He slipped the key into his pocket, shoulders slightly hunched, walking off without a word. Out drinking, early again, ha Reuben, I muttered to myself, voice barely above a whisper, then turned back into the kitchen, dented pot in hand. The house sank into silence, save for the clucking of a few chickens in the yard. I stayed inside all day, not that I had much choice. No phone, no back door, and no visitors. The house felt like a steel cage, locking me in. I took out leftover rice from yesterday, chewed slowly, each bite so bland it made me nauseous. This stuff's so bad, even the dog wouldn't touch it, I murmured, forcing myself to swallow, then gulped some tap water from the rusted faucet just to get it down. The water tasted like iron, but I had no other option. By noon, I was sitting on the floor next to the wobbly wooden table. I pulled out an old torn dress and started mending the hem with a rusted needle. Stitch it properly, Inez. Don't let people laugh at you looking like a rag, I mumbled, pushing the needle slowly through the fabric. Carelessly, the tip pricked my finger. Blood welled up, bright red. Ah, Mother of God, even at my age I'm still this clumsy, I muttered, quickly pressing a piece of dry bread from my pocket against the cut. Blood soaked into the bread. I shook my head. Guess I'll toss this. Can't eat it now. I kept sewing, squinting in the weak light. By late afternoon, when the sun had softened, I heard a sound outside the gate, faint, like someone had tossed something into the front yard. I stopped sewing, stood up, and carefully peeked through the window. A small plastic bag lay alone on the cement. Inside I could see the corner of a milk carton and some medical gauze. It's you again, Elijah, isn't it? I whispered, glancing around to make sure no one was watching. I didn't dare go out, afraid Reuben might come home unexpectedly. I took the old broom, stood under the awning, and carefully swept the bag through the crack beneath the iron gate. Easy now, Inez, don't tear it, I muttered, pulling it inside and setting it on the kitchen table. I opened it. Sure enough, there was milk and gauze. You're too kind, Elijah. But what am I supposed to do with kindness like this? I whispered. As dusk fell, I lit the fire and made a small pot of porridge, using the last handful of rice from the sack. Smoke clung to my hair and clothes, stinging my eyes. If only I had a bit of scallion, it might not taste so bland, I muttered, stirring the boiling pot. I scooped the porridge into a bowl, let it cool on the table, and sat down to wait. As long as I can eat, that's enough. Lord, please let tomorrow be better, I said softly, like trying to comfort myself. It wasn't until late at night that Reuben came home. I heard his uneven footsteps dragging across the yard. The sharp smell of alcohol hit me as soon as he pushed the door open. His eyes were bloodshot, shirt untucked, stumbling like he'd been rolling around somewhere. He tossed a plastic bag full of junk onto the table, a beer bottle clattering out. Got anything to eat, old woman? I'm starving, he growled, voice hoarse, slumping into a chair. I stood up quickly, brought out the bowl of cooled porridge. Here, son, it's the porridge I made this afternoon. Let me reheat it for you, I said. He glanced at the bowl, scowled, and knocked it to the floor. The ceramic bowl shattered, porridge splattered across the floor. You're feeding me this garbage. What do I look like? A dog to eat cold slop? You messing with me on purpose? He roared, slamming his hand on the table, making the dishes rattle and clink. I stepped back, trembling. Son, there's no more food left in the house. All I had was rice. I'm sorry. Tomorrow I'll try to get something better, okay? He let out a bitter laugh, voiced sharp with sarcasm. By what? With what money? Or are you begging that broke bastard at the gate again? Huh? I saw the bag in the yard. I froze, shaking my head quickly. I didn't ask anyone for anything, son. I don't know who left that bag. I just swept it inside. He shot up, jabbing his finger in my face. Don't lie to me. I know you've been sneaking around with that guy. You think I'm stupid. I'll show you what happens when you lie to me. Before I could kneel down to clean up the shattered bowl, he shoved me hard against the wall, my back slamming into the wood with a sharp jolt. He punched the wooden door behind me, the sound loud and violent. Shut your damn mouth. I'm sick of hearing your whining. You don't know your place. I'll teach you, he shouted, his face inches from mine, breath reeking of liquor. I didn't say a word, just stood there, eyes on the floor, hands bracing the wall. He stared me down, voice tight and cold. If I ever see another bag at that gate, I won't just shove you. You hear me? I nodded quickly, my voice barely a whisper. I understand, son. I won't do anything. Without another word, he dragged me toward the bathroom, yanking me along like a sack. You stay in here and think about what you've done. Don't make me come teach you again, he growled, pushing me in and slamming the door shut. He locked it from the outside with a makeshift metal latch. The clank of the hook echoed through the dark. I didn't bang on the door, didn't scream. I sat down quietly, back against the cold water tank, hard as stone. In the darkness, I fumbled around for the old bucket in the corner, scooped what little water was left, and soaked a washcloth. The moldy smell rose up, made me gag. I covered my mouth, pulled my knees in, and stayed like that through the night. By morning, a faint stream of sunlight slipped through the vent in the bathroom wall, weak and flickering, like a dying candle. I was still there, back against the freezing tank, legs stiff from being curled up so long. Outside, I heard Reuben moving around the yard, then the clink of the gate lock sliding open. His shoes scraped across the cement, and then silence. Out early again, Reuben. Who knows what time you'll be back, I murmured, voice raw, hand resting on the cold metal door. I waited nearly an hour. Nothing, only the chickens outside clucking softly in the yard. Then, from a distance, a voice called out, Miss Inez, are you all right? Dona Inez, where are you? It was Elijah's voice, deep, filled with worry. My heart pounded. I wanted to yell, but my throat was so dry, no sound came out. I just tapped my weak palm against the metal door, soft, barely audible. I'm here, Elijah, I'm here, I whispered, knowing he couldn't hear me. Footsteps ran around the house, fast and frantic. Then the banging on the iron gate began, again and again. Miss Inez, you're in there, right? Please, answer me, Elijah shouted, his voice tight with panic. I tried to hit the door harder, but my hand shook too much. All I could manage were a few faint taps. Then the banging stopped. Silence. I thought he'd given up, but suddenly, bang, a loud kick slammed into the gate. Open up, Miss Inez. No, you're in there, he yelled, now almost pleading. Minutes later, the front door burst open. The clatter of furniture crashing to the floor rang through the house. I heard quick footsteps, wood scraping, a door being yanked hard, creaking open. Light poured into the bathroom, blinding me. There stood Elijah, shirt soaked with sweat, a small hammer in his hand, face flushed from running. Miss Inez, are you okay? God, why were you locked in here? He asked, voice shaking as he rushed toward me. I couldn't react, just sat there, my legs numb. Elijah knelt down and reached out to help me up, his other hand gently brushing the hair from my face. Who did this to you? Who locked you in here? He asked, looking straight at me, worry etched deep in his eyes. I shook my head, voice barely a whisper. Don't ask, Elijah. I'm okay, don't worry. He frowned, his voice firm. You're not okay. Look at you. How could I not worry? Tell me who did this. But I didn't need to answer. Reuben suddenly appeared from the back room, face swollen, eyes bloodshot, clearly been drinking all night. He spotted Elijah and immediately roared, Who the hell are you, breaking into my house? Get out before I smash your face in. He charged forward and shoved Elijah hard in the shoulder, making him step back. I panicked, trying to speak. Reuben, stop, please. He just came to check on me. Elijah didn't flinch. He didn't strike back either. He stepped between me and Reuben, his voice calm but firm. I didn't come to fight, man. I came to take Miss Inez out of here. She doesn't deserve to live like this. No one does. Reuben growled, voice hoarse. What did you just say? This is my house. She's my mother. You've got no damn right to interfere. Get out before I make you regret it. He lunged, fist raised. This time, Elijah caught his arm mid-swing and held it tight. Don't push me, Elijah warned, his voice steely. I said, I don't want to fight, but I'm not leaving her here to suffer. Then he landed a clean punch to Reuben's chest, not too hard, but enough to knock him backward. Reuben stumbled and collapsed onto a plastic chair in the yard. which cracked under his weight. Gasping for breath, Reuben clutched his chest, glaring at Elijah. You're gonna regret ever laying hands on me. Elijah shook his head, voice low. No, I won't. But you need to think hard about how you've been treating your mother. He turned to me, gently helping me to my feet. Let's go, Miss Inez. I'm getting you out of here, he said softly. I shook my head, voice trembling. Elijah, I can't. This is my home. Where would I even go? He looked at me, eyes steady. You don't have to stay somewhere that only brings you pain. I'll take care of you. Trust me. He draped his jacket over my shoulders. It was still warm, still carried the scent of his sweat. I didn't resist. I let him guide me out into the yard. The wind swept through my hair, carrying the dry scent of earth. The sunlight was gentle, but the musty air from the house clung to the back of my neck. The gate creaked open. Elijah helped me through it, one slow step at a time. I stepped outside for the first time in 17 months, out of the cage that house had become. Down the street, 3 children were jumping rope, their laughter echoing. A woman pushing a cart of sweetbread stopped and stared. Dona Inez, is that really you? I haven't seen you out in so long, she said, surprised. I gave a faint smile, my voice hoarse. It's me. I'm just out for a little walk today. She nodded and wheeled her cart forward. Good. It's good to get some air, ma'am. I didn't lower my head. I didn't cover my face. I just walked, slowly, step by step, beside Elijah. He held my hand and said softly, You don't have to be afraid anymore, Miss Inez. I'm here now. I nodded, saying nothing. Like my grandmother used to say, Inez, sometimes one hand reaching for you is all it takes to pull you out of the dark. I held Elijah's hand and walked forward, feeling, for the first time in years, like I'd found the light. I stayed at Elijah's place, a small, weathered wooden house with a tin roof that rattled whenever the wind blew, tucked away at the edge of town, just behind a dry, abandoned cornfield. Elijah made me a simple spot to sleep, a cotton mattress laid out on the wooden floor, right beside a window that looked out over the withered field. Right here, Miss Inez. It's cooler by the window. If you need anything, just say the word, he said gently, placing an old blanket next to the mattress. I nodded, didn't say much, just sat down and ran my fingers over the rough wooden window frame. I didn't talk much, just nodded or shook my head when Elijah asked questions. Didn't push. He stayed busy, quietly fixing a broken table or sweeping the yard. The next morning, I woke to find a warm bowl of rice porridge on the wooden table, a few slices of banana, and a soft towel to wipe my hands. Eat up, Miss Inez. I made the porridge early this morning. The bananas are sweet. Try them, Elijah said from the kitchen doorway, wiping his hands on his shirt. I nodded, picking up the spoon. Thank you, Elijah. You're working too hard. He gave a soft smile. It's nothing. If you're eating well, that's enough for me. I wandered around the house, each step slow and measured. A pomegranate tree grew along the wall, its branches hanging low with small, red fruit. I picked one, cut it open with a knife, held it in my hand as the juice dripped onto my fingers, but I didn't eat it. Elijah, are these sweet? I asked, my voice raspy. He stepped in from the yard, looked at the fruit. They're real sweet. But if you don't like them, I can juice it for you. Sound good? I shook my head. No, leave it. I'm just holding it. He nodded, didn't ask again, and went back to sweeping leaves. Later, a neighbor, Mrs. Mabel, saw me sitting under the sun on the porch and came over with a plate of warm corn cakes. Dona Inez, I heard what happened. Don't let it get to you. No one deserves that, she said, placing the plate in my hands. I took it, voice quiet. Thank you, Mabel. I'm all right. Just tired. She held my hand, her eyes kind. You've got nothing to be ashamed of, Inez. He's the one who should be ashamed. You stay right here. We'll look after you. I nodded, eyes stinging. Thank you. I'll try. I didn't eat the cakes, but I kept the plate, placed it on the table like I was holding on to that small kindness. That evening, I heard the sound of a motorcycle pulling up at the gate. Elijah stepped out and called, Miss Inez, someone left a letter out here. No name on it. He came back in and handed me a plain white envelope. I opened it. Inside, there was just one line, typed in italics. You really left, huh? You just killed me all over again. I froze, my hands trembling. Elijah looked at me, concerned. Miss Inez, who sent that? Are you okay? I shook my head. It's nothing, Elijah. Must have been for someone else. He frowned, voice firm. If it's from Reuben, just tell me. I won't let him bother you again. I forced a smile. It's all right. Don't worry about me. I can handle it. Elijah tore the letter up, the scraps fluttering down like dead leaves. But I picked up each piece carefully, folded them, and tucked them into my pocket. 3 days later, I went to the market with Mrs. Mabel, the first time I'd stepped out in months. At the vegetable stall, the seller looked at me, her voice low. Dona Inez, aren't you Reuben's mother? Lord, I didn't recognize you. You look so different, thinner. I lowered my head, picking up a bunch of greens. Yes, that's me. I'm all right. Don't worry. The woman shook her head, slipped in some free scallions. Take care of yourself, ma'am. Everyone at the markets heard about what happened with Reuben. We're all on your side. I nodded softly. Thank you. I know. I'll be okay. I bought 2 handkerchiefs and a small bottle of medicated oil, then followed Mabel home, saying nothing more. Word about what Reuben did to me spread quickly through the neighborhood. People started whispering, talking behind hands, that Reuben's no good, beat up his own mother. I heard a flower vendor say to someone as I walked by. Someone else muttered, if I see him out in the street, I'll teach him a lesson myself. I kept my head down and walked on. A few days later, Elijah was sitting out on the porch and said, Miss Inez, people are saying Reuben's gone, ran off somewhere. Sounds like he didn't have the guts to stay in town. What do you think? I nodded, voice hoarse. I heard, Elijah, if he's gone, let him go. I'm not stopping him. Elijah looked at me, voice low. Don't feel bad, he doesn't deserve you. You've got me, and the neighbors too. I nodded again, didn't say much. Thank you, Elijah. You've been kind to me. That night, I stood in front of the cracked mirror in the room, holding a pair of scissors, cutting my hair myself. What used to fall down my back now lay in clumps around my feet, cropped short above the neck. You're old now, Inez. What's long hair even for? I muttered as each lock hit the floor. Elijah came home, saw my hair, and froze in the doorway. Miss Inez, why'd you cut your hair? Let me call someone to do it nice for you, he said, surprised. I shook my head. No need. I can do it myself. Short hair's cooler. Don't worry. He didn't argue. He just quietly took a new mirror and hung it up in place of the broken one. Here. This one's clearer. You look beautiful. Miss Inez, he said with a soft smile. I nodded. Thank you, Elijah. You've been too good to me. A week after I left the house, I asked Elijah to take me back there, just for a visit. I wanted to go early, before the market opened, when the sun was just coming up and no one was around to whisper, Elijah, can you take me back to the house? I want to clean it up a little, I said, voice rough, holding a worn cloth bag. Elijah nodded right away. Of course, Miss Inez, I'll go with you. Anything you need help with, just say the word. He put on a shirt, grabbed the keys, and we walked together, slow steps along the gravel road. I wore a coarse earth-colored shirt, an old frayed straw hat, and carried a small bag. Inside were a hammer, a box of nails, and a wooden sign I'd made. What's in the bag? Is it heavy? Let me carry it for you, Elijah asked, glancing at it. I shook my head with a faint smile. It's not heavy. Just a few small things. I've got it. He nodded, didn't press, just walked beside me with his hands in his pockets. When we reached the gate, I used the spare keys Elijah had added the week before. The iron lock clicked open, dry and hollow. The house was still and stale, like it had been abandoned. A sour, musty smell drifted from the kitchen. The broken cup Reuben had knocked over still lay in the corner of the yard, ceramic shards half hidden in the weeds. Man, this place is a mess. Let me help you clean up, Miss Inez, Elijah said, picking up the broom leaning against the wall. I nodded, thank you, but let me sweep the yard first. Do whatever you like. I quietly swept the yard, gathering up the shattered pieces, clearing the dried leaves fallen from the lemon tree. Each time I bent down, I whispered, keep it clean. Inez, this is your house. Meanwhile, Elijah took the hammer and nails from my bag and mounted the wooden sign on the wall beside the gate. The words, written in black ink, were my own. This is the house of Lutia Morales, not anyone's mother. Owes nothing. Elijah read it out loud as he hammered. That's a strong sign, Miss Inez. Powerful. People will know this is your home. I nodded, softly. Yeah, that's what I want. Thank you for helping me put it up. An old woman walking by with a cane paused to read the sign. She looked at me, pressed her hands together in front of her chest. and said, her voice trembling, Dona Inez, you did the right thing. I heard what happened. Stay strong, okay? I smiled and nodded. Thank you. I'm all right. You take care, too. She didn't say anything else, just pressed her hands together again and walked on, her cane tapping steady against the road. I went into the kitchen and started washing the pile of dirty dishes. Water dripped steadily from the leaky faucet as I scrubbed each chipped bowl. Clean it well, Inez. Make the house decent again, I muttered to myself, scrubbing harder. I boiled a pot of water, pulled out the old cast iron pot scorched black from one of Ruben's fits, and scraped off the burned residue. This pot still works. Don't throw it out, I told myself, pouring in the hot water and scrubbing again. From the living room, Elijah called out, Miss Inez, can I open this window? It's stuffy in here, needs some air. Yeah, open it. It's been shut for too long. Let some light in, I answered. Elijah changed the bedding, laying out a clean sheet, light blue, one he brought from his house. He opened the front room window. Ruben had always kept it shut, saying he didn't want anyone looking into the house. This place looks brighter now, don't you think? Sunlight makes it nice in here, Elijah said, standing by the window with his hands on his hips. I nodded. Yeah, it really does. Thanks, Elijah. You've made this place feel new again. I propped back up my husband's photo, the one that had been taken down long ago and left to gather dust in the back of the cabinet. I cleaned it carefully and placed it on the small altar table. Then I hung the faded wedding photo back on the wall. The edges were torn, but I pinned it up with care. He'd be glad to see the house clean again, I murmured, smoothing the frame with my hand. Ruben hadn't shown up, but I knew he was still hanging around town. Mabel had told me that morning while I was still at Elijah's place. Inez, I saw Ruben buying cigarettes at the corner store. He looked terrible, wouldn't even make eye contact with anyone, she said, her voice full of pity. I nodded. Let him be, Mabel. I'm not holding on to him anymore. She squeezed my hand. You're strong, Inez. Just live well. Don't waste another thought on him. I nodded again. Thank you. I'll try. In the late afternoon, I sat on the doorstep, looking out over the quiet alley. A little girl, maybe 8 years old, passed by, holding a rubber ball. She stopped, stared at the sign, then looked up and asked, Ma'am, is that sign your name? Are you Inez Morales? I nodded, smiling softly. That's me, sweetie. What's your name? She grinned wide. I'm Lena. Can I call you Miss Inez from now on? I like your name. It sounds pretty. I patted her head. Of course you can, Lena. I'd like that very much. She skipped off down the street, singing as she went. Miss Inez, Miss Inez. I watched her go, smiling. That night, the sky was overcast. No rain, no wind, just a heavy stillness wrapped around the house. I was in the kitchen boiling ginger water. The spicy scent filled the room, steam rising from a dented aluminum pot. I stirred slowly, mumbling to myself, if I had a little sugar, this'd go down easier. Suddenly, the sound of a bicycle chain grinding against the cement echoed from the gate, sharp and metallic, like iron scraping stone. I stopped stirring, wiped my hands on my apron, and stepped into the yard, my legs a bit unsteady. Through the bars at the gate, I saw Ruben, no jacket, hands trembling, body thin and frail like a drifting shadow. He leaned his bike against the wall, eyes fixed on the ground, refusing to look at me. Then he spoke, voice hoarse, hesitant. Mom, can you open the gate? I just want to grab a few things from my room. I won't bother you. I nodded, without a word, pulled the key ring from my coat pocket, and unlocked the gate. The metal clicked loudly in the quiet air. I stepped aside. My voice was low. Go ahead, Ruben. Take what you need. I've got things to do. He glanced at me, lips pressed tight, then muttered, I'm not staying long. Don't worry. He walked straight into the house and went into his old room. The door creaked open behind him, as if it, too, was tired of holding anything in. A few minutes later, I heard the creaking of wooden boards from inside the room. He was opening the drawer beneath the bed, the one where I used to hide money to buy medicine for him when his fever had him laid out. I stood in the yard, hand resting on the broom handle, muttering to myself, take whatever you want, Ruben, just don't tear this house apart again. He came out holding a crumpled plastic bag, a few odds and ends visible inside. Before reaching the door, he stopped and looked at me, voice hesitant. You know, I thought you were too scared to ever come back. After what happened, I figured you'd leave town for good. I looked him straight in the eyes, voice steady but firm. I didn't come back for you, Reuben. I came back because this is my house. I have a right to be here. No one gets to push me out. He squinted, stood still for a moment, gripping the bag tighter. Then he said, almost choking on the words, I know, I messed up, Mom. I wasn't good to you. I admit that. But you never fought back. Never yelled. You let me do whatever I wanted, didn't you? I shook my head, my voice sharpening. Because I was your mother, Reuben. I used to think I had to take the pain just to keep you, but now I'm Inez Morales. And this woman doesn't have to suffer for you anymore. He lowered his head, lips pressed tight, like he wanted to say something else. Mom, I didn't mean for things to get this bad. After you left, the whole town called me a disgrace, a bastard. You know what that felt like. I stared at him without blinking. That pain's on you, Reuben. I gave you everything I had. Now I don't owe you anything. Go. I'm not holding you back. He stayed quiet, eyes on the ground, then mumbled, You say that, but I'm still your son. Doesn't it kill you to walk away from me? I answered, without pause. Guilt. I paid my dues. Reuben, now you take care of your own life, just like I'm taking care of mine. He didn't respond, just turned, grabbed his bike, and rolled it out the gate. I stayed silent, closed the gate behind him. The metal latch clicked shut, cold and final. After he left, I walked into his old room and opened the windows to let in some air. I gathered up what was left, some torn old shirts, frayed books, a cracked plastic coin box. I packed it all into a worn cloth bag and tied it tight. All done, Inez. Nothing of his left here, I muttered, pulling the string tight. I didn't burn it. Didn't want to keep any trace of him in the house. I carried the bag and walked to the rectory, where folks leave things for the homeless. I set the bag down by the gate and whispered, Take what you need. I'm done holding on. A man passing by saw me and asked, Dona Inez, what are you leaving there? For the poor. I nodded. Just old things. If someone needs them, they can have them. I'm not keeping any of it. He nodded and smiled. You've got a kind heart, Inez. Keep living like this. Our Lady will bless you. I gave a soft smile. Thank you. I'm just doing what feels right. On the way home, I stopped by Mabel's house and knocked on the door. She came out holding a bunch of greens, cheerful as always. Inez, there you are. Come in. I just made soup. Stay for a bowl. I shook my head. No, Mabel, I just came to ask for some basil. Want to plant it in the yard. She ran out to the garden, pulled up a fresh bunch, and handed it to me. Here, this one's real fragrant. Best to plant it next to the pomegranate tree. I took it and nodded. Thank you, Mabel. I'll plant it today. It'll make the yard feel more alive. She patted my shoulder, her voice warm. You're strong. Inez, I heard about that boy of yours. Don't let him drag you down again. Live for yourself, all right? I nodded, voice raspy. I know, Mabel, I'm trying. She smiled. Good. And if you ever need anything, you come find me. Don't hesitate. I nodded again. Thank you. I'll remember that. When I got home, I planted the basil next to the pomegranate tree, using my hands to gently shape the soil. Grow strong, I whispered. Let this house breathe again. I poured water from the old bucket, slow and steady. Like my grandmother used to say, Inez, once you let go of the weight, the world will open its arms to you. I stood there, looking at the basil plant, knowing I'd let go of Reuben and all the pain that came with him. A month after Reuben left town, I woke up early like always, just as the first light of dawn crept in, painting the narrow alley in soft gold. I made coffee in the old aluminum pot. The smell filled the kitchen, rich and familiar. This would taste better with a little milk, I muttered, stirred it, then carried my mug to the window. I threw the window wide open and looked out at the quiet alley where the rooster crowed in the distance, and sparrows chirped on the lemon tree in the yard. It's a beautiful day, Inez. Better make it count, I told myself, sipping the hot coffee. Elijah stopped by, carrying a pot with a bright red bougainvillea, dirt still clinging to the roots. He stood at the gate, smiling big, his voice full of cheer. Miss Inez, your gate's looking kind of bare. It feels lonely. I brought this bougainvillea over. Thought I'd plant it here, give your place a little color. That okay? I stood up, walked out to the yard, nodded. Yeah, that's real nice, Elijah. Go ahead. I like red flowers. They cheer the place up. He set the pot down, pulled a small trowel from his bag, dug a hole by the gate, planted the flower, then packed some rocks around it to keep it steady. All done, miss. This one's hardy. Just give it water and the whole gutil light up red, he said, brushing off his hands, sweat dotting his forehead. I brought out a bucket of water, gave the plant its first drink, watching the water trickle down. Thank you, Elijah. This plant's beautiful. It really brightens the yard, I said softly. Elijah grinned, wiped his forehead with his sleeve. As long as you like it, I'm happy. I picked this one special. Big blooms, bold red, suits your house. If you need anything else, just holler. Okay, I nodded, looking at the bougainvillea. You're very thoughtful, Elijah. I'll take care of it. Make sure it blooms for you. He nodded back, smiling wide. I'll be waiting. Miss Inez, this house is gonna be the prettiest on the block. Lena, the little girl who used to call me Miss Inez, ran by, clutching a crumpled piece of paper. She stopped, shoved a drawing into my hand, a colored pencil sketch of me sitting by a tree, smiling, with the bright red bougainvillea next to me. Miss Inez, I drew you. Does it look like you? I spent all morning coloring it, she asked, eyes shining, bouncing on her toes. I held the drawing, looked at the clumsy lines and bright colors, smiled. Looks just like me, Lena. You made me look so pretty. I'll have to keep this safe. She beamed, voice ringing. I'll draw more, and you can keep them all. You're the prettiest Miss Inez in the whole neighborhood. I love you lots. I patted her head. Thank you, sweetie. Next time you draw one, I'll hang it on the wall for you to see. Lena skipped off, singing as she went. Miss Inez, the prettiest on the block. That afternoon, Elijah set up a little wooden table in the yard, under the cool shade of the lemon tree. He called over a bunch of neighborhood kids, laid out a box of colored pencils and some tiny clay figurines. All right, kids, come paint with me. Miss Inez, come out here and see how good they are, he called, cheerful as ever, arranging the colors. I came out, sat on a little stool beside the table, and watched the kids busy painting. A little boy, maybe 6, looked up and asked, Miss Inez, what color do you like? I'll paint this horse red for you, just like the flower at your gate. I nodded, smiled. Red's perfect. Go on, I love red. The boy grinned, carefully coloring. When I'm done, I'll give it to you. You can hang it in your house. Okay. This horse is strong, just like you. I nodded again, voice warm. Thank you, sweetheart. I'll hang it up so I can see your strong little horse every day. An old woman from town, the one who used to sell pastries to me, stopped by, slowly pushing her bread cart down the narrow alley. She paused, looked at my yard, and said with surprise, Dona Inez, since you came back, this whole street feels brighter. Just seeing your yard and that bougainvillea makes me happy. How are you feeling? I stood up, pulled out a stool. Sit a while, I'll get you some water. She waved her hand, smiling. No, I better keep selling, Inez, but keep living like this. The whole neighborhood cares about you. Your house feels warm now, like mine used to. I nodded, my voice soft. Thank you, I'm trying. Hope you sell lots of bread today. She nodded back, pushing the cart forward. Thanks, Inez. I'll bring you some cornbread on Sunday. Goes great with coffee. I smiled. I'll be waiting. Don't forget. That night, I lit a white candle and placed it on the altar beside my husband's old photo, the one I had taped back together with clear tape. I wiped the frame and murmured, You see this, don't you? The house has life again. I pulled out the old notebook from the drawer and wrote for the first time in years. I'm not a forgotten piece of the past. I am my own self. I closed the notebook gently and whispered, Feels lighter to write it down, Inez. Night fell, no wind, no cars, just the steady chirping of crickets in the yard. I went out to water the bougainvillea. The water streamed softly from the bucket, soaking into the soil. A breeze stirred and a single red petal fell, landing quietly on the concrete. I looked at it, didn't bend down, didn't pick it up. I stepped past it and kept walking. Like my grandmother used to say, Inez, the sky never speaks, but it always answers, with light and wind. Just walk, and it will lead you. I walked back into the house, feeling like I'd found my own way again. She also used to say, You don't have to hold on to the past, Inez. Let it drift like a fallen flower, and your heart will feel light. We tell this story based on real events. The names and places have been changed to protect the identity of the person involved. It's the story of a mother who gave her entire life for her children and grandchildren, only to be disrespected, used, and abandoned. But when she had nothing left to lose, she rose, and this time, she lived for herself. We don't tell it to judge, but to make you stop and think. How many mothers are suffering in silence inside their own homes? Now, I'm curious about you, the one listening to my story. What would you do if you were in my place? Have you lived through something similar? Let me know in the comments. In the meantime, on the final screen, I'm leaving you to other stories that are favorites on the channel. And without a doubt, they'll surprise you. Thank you for staying with me until the end.